I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
You know what it is. Come on. Do we have to say who we are at this point?
Aren't we the ones who just finished that Radiant 6 one we did?
They might not recognize us from that Radiant 6 clip because, well, it was a terrible looking and sounding clip. But yes, we are the CRM players and we are back for the whatever nth time in a row,
The
Thursday,
Googleplex.
on another fine Blur's Day afternoon.
Mm-hmm. You know, that video, that 2009 one you put up, I actually realized then I weighed 62 pounds more than I weigh now.
So, in
And
other words, you're not the man you used to be.
yeah, but you know what I also realized? I don't think I looked like I weighed 62 pounds more than I weigh now. I'm kind of proud of the fact that even though I was fat, I hit it well.
I don't know what to say on that one, folks, but we'll
There's
just say
really
we'll say good night to Sven. Good night, Sven.
right. Good night, Sven. As always a pleasure seeing your comments.
As always, it's always a good time to have Sven on board. But yes, we are going to have a nice guest in a little while, and it's part of a. We actually discussed this with I think the with the folks a couple of weeks ago about how sometimes there seems to be some acquisitions that just don't seem to get enough press because they're kind of overshadowed by the big names. We know the one big name that's been overshadowing everything over the last month or so. Can we go a show without even mentioning that?
No, we can't. So let's just say it now, so we don't have to like say it anymore. So you want to take the first half? I'll take the second half.
Tick.
Talk.
All
There
right,
we
we're done.
go. And well, we do have to say Oracle Walmart. So
Oracle. Okay, so you got that out.
Oracle Walmart TikTok. There we go.
Although,
That's our.
although you will hear one of those three mentioned again and rather quickly
Mm-hmm.
later on in the show.
That's right.
Now, so we're going to be talking about Episerver's acquisition of Optimizely with. You want to say who it is?
Yeah, this is a seriously cool guy too. He's the CEO of Episerver, Alex Atzberger, and Alex. I've known Alex since he was president of CX at SAP. Not only is he leading this amazing charge with Episerver, and we'll get into it. There's another thing that he does, which is I personally think is equally amazing, although others may not. But we definitely got to talk about it. There's no question about that. So we got a lot to talk about with uh, Mr. Double A.
Yes, that's right. And also, he works with one of my favorite dudes, Edward R. Barrow. It's
That's right.
just like saying
Good,
Edward R. Barrow. I
good
think
night,
he's.
Mr. and Mrs. America, wherever you are.
Oh, and by the way, you said what was Alex? Where was Alex when you met him? What was he
He
doing?
was he was president of CX at SAP.
Another clue, you're going to hear that again too in a short bit of time. So
Mhm.
a little foreshadowing there. A little, yeah.
I
But we'll
know
be
it is.
talking about.
There was some pretty cool. Actually, might I have a subject just to throw out there? Just I'm writing about it right now, and it'll take like a minute. But before we
Yeah.
get into I was thinking about it. So Microsoft is running Ignite uh, this week, and I think it ends today, 24th, except maybe some after events. And Ignite tends to be the developers conference. It's the product conference where all the things they're doing with Azure and business applications and Power Platform and Power BI and Power Apps and
A lot of power.
Power. I was about to say, and I was trying to think of something else, but I want to Power Bars, and they give out Power
Power
Bars
part.
at the headquarters in Seattle or in Redmond. But I actually think it was overshadowed by something that it wasn't overshadowed by, which is the acquisition of ZeniMax Studios, ZeniMax Media, which is actually the kind of umbrella parent of iconic gaming um, companies. Bethesda Software, um, ID Software, which is probably the most iconic one. It's the creator. It's the company that created Doom, which of course one of the world's historically one of the biggest games in history, and arguably sparked a lot of the PC and video gaming market we see now. But the reason I think that, which I'll be putting up a post on ZDNet, which will go into much more detail, but back in 2012, I wrote this post, and I said that Microsoft's one of the few companies on the planet. It's the only company on the planet, not the few. It's the only company on the planet that can actually enable how someone lives their life end to end, right? And that's from personal, hardcore consumer, gaming, just lifestyle things, all the way over to the enterprise business applications that are necessary. And I think Microsoft, what the pandemic has sparked is a clear increase in the need for new forms of, or accelerated forms of, or expanding forms of digital engagement. And that's been shown with the PC video game market has just skyrocketed. And again, I'll go through the details in the post. You can read that when the time comes next week. It'll be Monday. But what's phenomenal is that I think Microsoft really is getting that. Because you remember, I always thought they always wanted to be the mission critical part of all business infrastructure in the 21st century. It's kind of my almost my mantra about them from a strategic, kind of their grand strategy and vision. But I actually think now they're looking even bigger. And it's why you see, for example, the what do you call it? The Surface Duo, the foldable phone, is an Android phone. That's no joke, right? So it's a, as much as I'm sure Microsoft would love to have an operating system on a phone that worked, they didn't, and so they're making a really wise move. They're not going to bet on Apple, obviously. They're betting on Android because they're not. By doing that, they're not betting on Apple. Right? It was a big competitor in that universe.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
But
remember,
yeah, go ahead.
now remember, I think it was the first year that Satya was there, and they had that analyst event, and they brought, I guess about 20-25 of us there, and it was clear that he was comfortable doing and working with whoever. They didn't have to always be the top dog in the space. They were like, look, we're glad to work with anybody because our customers are, want us to be able to provide them with things, even if we're not the numero uno. We'll, we're okay with working with and then competing with people. And that all it always struck me that he said that, and it's actually come to fruition. I mean, they partner with everybody. You had the list, and some of those times they're competing with folks, in certain categories, but they're willing to work with them in other categories, and that's a sign of a lot of confidence too. You're confident in your plan and your roadmap and your capabilities.
No, I look. Microsoft's making some brilliant moves right now, and again, right? They tend to do that in crises, they or at nodal points when they have to either make a brilliant move, make an amazing move, a smart move, or they just deteriorate. They don't ever hold steady. That's the one thing with them. It's so big that if they don't support their weight by making a move that pushes the weight forward, it falls back and off, right? So, any case, I just wanted to talk about that because it's been on my mind so much. Anyway, I think before Alex comes on, you'll note something I wrote to you just now. But
I was just doing a little light reading.
All right, so I think about time, don't you?
Yeah, I think we're ready to do the big reveal. So, so you kind of probably have seen that we are working on a couple of different, pet projects for the CRM Playaz. One being, of course, the BYOB. And I don't think there's an update for this week. We're kind of in that quiet phase with that. Is that okay?
Yeah,
but
we're
quiet phase. But it's going on. We already know that there are people working on these videos. I mean, there's some serious work going on in these videos. There is some stuff going on in these videos that you are going to want to see and hear. I'm just
Yeah.
going to leave it at that.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things that it's one of those like special kind of things. We actually that was all driven by Paul's interest in we had a couple of people on that started playing the guitars in the middle of our episodes, and that grew out of the BYOB actually grew out of that, which is kind of interesting.
Amazing.
So this was the first stretch of time that we've actually done the CRM Players consecutively, consistently. The first time in our 12 years of doing this was during the pandemic. And it has given us, I think, a broader perspective of what's going on, and really hearing a lot from from everybody involved in the industry, really, not just the vendors, but the influencers, the analysts. And it got us to thinking, it's like, why don't we might be able to do something a little special, a little different from our traditional episode. What if we were able to like get the kind of biggest companies in the industry, the ones that everybody knows of, and why don't we try to bring some of the executives from each of those companies together, just to have a conversation, not like a stuffed shirt panel that you traditionally go to at an event. Hey, we're all virtual, so let's leave the stuffed shirt stuff behind. Why don't we just get executives from all the companies that kind of the top market share companies, and let's just bring them together for just a regular conversation. Just we'll talk about the big topics. We'll have some laughs, we'll have some fun, but we'll also really, I think, be able to get to the heart of some things that are going on currently. Right? Is that kind of a good way to build this up?
I can't imagine a better way, really.
So we took it upon ourselves, the CRM players took it upon ourselves to see if we could accomplish that. We wanted to, try to bring together the big five at the top of the market share chain, bring some executives that, pretty senior level executives together, and just to talk and have a conversation, not a scripted, something, or not like a debate or anything, just a conversation, a group conversation. And so we kind of struck out to try to put that together, and we are proud to announce. I wish we had some drum roll music.
Yeah, soon enough. We'll have the music.
We are proud to announce that on October 8th, Thursday, October 8th. Note the time. This is a special time. This is 1:30 Eastern, not our traditional 3 o'clock Eastern, but you'll see that you'll still be watching us at that time. We'll explain that in a minute. But we are so excited to announce that we do have the representatives, executives from market share wise, the top 5 companies in the industry, market share wise, to join us in what we are calling our inaugural CRM Players Executive Roundtable Conversation. And as you can see there, Adobe, Microsoft, Oracle, Salesforce, and SAP are on board. Before we say who the actual folks that'll be joining us are, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, well, there's one hidden announcement in this. For years, as you know, Brent and I have been calling it the big 4.5, and then it became the big 4.8, and that was always Adobe. It was the 0.5 and the 0.8 because they hadn't quite, from not just market share, but from also how they attacked the market, the kind of impact they were making on the market, hadn't quite reached the level of the other 4. Well, note what this is. We're saying the big 5. So they've made the necessary 0.2 to get to the big 5, right? By both the effort, the impact, and the market share. And that, honestly, as funny as that is, that's an actual achievement, believe me. I mean, these are not lightly stated. As funny as they sound by calling big 4.4, 4.5, 4.8, it's really actually a sign of Adobe starting to mature and grow at the level they have to compete with all of these guys. And in fact, interestingly enough, they partner with the bulk of them, right?
Yeah.
So that was the only thing. I just wanted to get at that hidden announcement that's in there.
No, I like that, and I think it's important because the next slide really points it out. Why it's the big five at this point. So we were looking at market share, and because look, the industry kind of gets driven by the folks who are at the top in terms of selling this stuff to a certain extent. It's not fully the case, but when you look at market share, these five do separate themselves. And I think the point two that Adobe made up on the rest is easily visible on this screen here.
Yeah, and look, the IDC does this annually to do. Well, I guess they say semi-annually, but as far as I know, I only see it once a year. And this was done in April. And note, if you can see what they're actually using as the categories that are driving the market share. Now, I actually will have a slight difference in how they approach it, which is they're adding digital commerce into it. I think that's a separate category. But for the sake of that point two, and for the sake of simplification, we'll keep it there for now.
Well, and I think it's the numbers are coming from IDC. It's not coming from somebody else.
It's not coming from a vendor. IDC did the work.
Yeah, exactly. So I totally understand that question. But the big thing is, we all know about FANG. There's FAANG, and that's the general kind of technology that everybody talks about when they talk about Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google. Is that it? Is that there's? I'm not missing.
Oh, we know what we could actually call it. Wait, no, that doesn't work. Damn, almost did. I almost had something else.
So those are, the highbrow kind of big tech are FANG, but we're looking specifically at the CRM related technology companies, enterprise software companies. And so by adding Adobe to the mix, it went from, I was calling them MOS, Microsoft, Oracle, Salesforce, and SAP. But now that Adobe has graduated and become one of the big five, we have AMOS. Now, it's not as catchy as FANG, I guess, but it's easy to say, it's easy to remember. And I'll just throw this out here. When I first threw that line on to our buddy Alan Berkson, his reply is, "We got to get Freshworks into that top 6 so we can go from AMOS to FAMOS." So I was like, that's kind of interesting, but for now we have the big five in the industry, and I'll say AMOS. Kind of
AMOS it is.
AMOS to that. All right, so that's why we wanted to start off this what we're calling the inaugural executive conversation roundtable, because if this goes well, and there's a lot of moving parts to this, so we'll see. But if it goes well, we really do see being able to do this possibly on a quarterly basis. So,
yeah.
So we're just starting with the top 5 by market share, but we'll have other roundtables, and we will have other executives from other companies that are doing great stuff in the industry, impactful stuff in the industry. But when you get going and you get started with this, why not just try to aim for the top 5 market share wise, and then we will proceed from there going further. So with all that said, we want to tell you exactly who the people that will be joining us on the panel, who they are. So, and this is all in alphabetical order, and I will let the esteemed Paul Greenberg give any commentary he wants to on the people that will be joining us. So starting first, Bill Patterson. Yes, from Salesforce.
Bill, meteoric rise. He was at Microsoft. I've known him, I don't know, close to 20 years, I think. And Bill is a rock star. I mean, he's a true rock star. He's insightful. He's visionary. He is also very well liked by all the people who he works with. And he is able to run a unit of this magnitude. And when he came to Salesforce from Microsoft, he became the SVP of customer service, of Service Cloud rather, and then became EVP and GM, and now he's overseeing all CRM applications for the company. Great one to start with on the alphabetical list. Let's just put it that way.
I'll just throw this in. Yeah, we're glad to have him. He's still a Boston sports fan.
Yeah.
I almost left him off of this, but we thought we gave him a second look. We thought he's good otherwise. So we
Oh,
welcome Bill to.
one last thing. One of his kids throws an amazing knuckleball.
Oh,
Seriously,
so he's got like a
amazing knuckleball.
Charlie Huff, Joe Negro kind of stuff going on here.
Yeah, he's heading that way.
All right. Look here's a question. Salesforce is in the BYOB, by the way, right?
Yeah, we'll check it off as we go along. But 3 of the 5 are. 3 of the 5 are.
All right. So next up, there he is. Well, there's a little lag in there for some reason.
We really very little intro needed. All you have to do is watch the show we had with him already, which literally I think was the most watched show and certainly the most commented on show we have ever had, and broke the language barrier for us. Right? This guy is the legend of legends in the CRM world. You know, he's the guy who, you know, I once called him the godfather of CRM products. Right? So, and I get to do that. Right? So. One of the most remarkable executives I know. And also, he's been started at Siebel, went from Siebel to SAP, went from SAP to Microsoft, Microsoft to Salesforce, back to SAP, and everywhere he goes, he takes every unit he deals with, completely rebuilds it, and turns it into a multifaceted, gigantic piece of business. And he is a Buffalo Bills and Buffalo Sabres fan, which is okay.
No, that's okay.
He gets by our standards.
And I really fought myself not to put Buffalo Bob Stutz in his title.
Well, that actually goes to a 1950s TV show, which we will not talk about. Had to do with a puppet. Let's just say that.
All right. And now is SAP, are they in the BYOB?
Yes, they are. They have this. They call their band the Sapremes. SAPREMES.
Gotta like that name, by the way.
Beautiful name.
Gotta like that name. Okay,
by the way, Salesforce was the Velocitors, just so you know.
Oh, that's right. The Velocitors and the Sapremes.
Right.
2 good, strong names, by the way. That's good. Yeah. All right, so we're up to number 3. Everybody ready for the third panelist? Here we are. Rob Tarkov.
Another one, man. So Rob, I've known Rob since he was at Adobe, which was, I don't know, 16, 17 years ago. And he went from Adobe to Lithium. And when he went to Lithium had an issue, and it's how to become an enterprise-ready company. And Rob, as CEO of Lithium, and I had the privilege of working with him as a friend, and I was engaged with them for 7 years. He turned them into an enterprise-ready company. He really did. But here's the thing. He went from Lithium after Vista, company I can't stand. Vista acquired them, right? And he went to Oracle to run CX. And as good a CEO as he was at Lithium, and he's amazing what he's doing at Oracle. He's transforming the culture, and he has a significant responsibility for that happening. CX itself is competitive with anything in the market and then some, has some products that are unique and different. And Rob is absolutely loved by everybody at CX, where, you know, in prior eras, it was a lot more difficult to get things moving there. Rob has got CX up. Well, let's just say he is shining in his role there. And he's finally getting out on the stage and in public. That was a big argument I used to have with him at Lithium, to go out and do more of that, because he was so personable and so smart. And now he is doing that. So from a personal standpoint, that makes me happy. That's what I can tell you. It makes me very happy to see Rob out there, and hopefully, well, not hopefully, and now to see him with our panel.
And he has put together a really great team of folks too.
Oh my God, yeah!
Across the board, very impressed with what he's done. And it's only been 2 years? Has it even been a full 2 years?
I think it's next Next month is a full 2
Yeah,
years.
because it seemed like he was hired like a couple of weeks before Open World of 2018 or something like that.
Right. Right. That's
Yeah,
what I remember too. He can
there it
fix that
is.
for us if we're wrong.
So, now Oracle, I don't.
They yeah, they're in.
They're in. Okay,
Oracle BYLB. They're the Oracle Cloud CX pistols.
that's right. The CX Pistols. I love that name, man. That's
So
the
does
name
yeah.
so far of the first three here. Top
Well,
notch.
that's but I will tell you the next two are not in. So
Oh, okay. Well, so
that's right.
we didn't plan that like that, but
No,
it's
it
just
just
the
worked
way
out.
the names worked out. Okay, so next up,
Okay,
Alyssa Taylor.
So Alyssa runs. Best way to put it is all business apps, dynamics and adjunct things, adjunct parts of dynamic. The things around dynamics for Microsoft, and has just been. Now here's the thing with Alyssa. She's actually fairly new to Microsoft. I think when I met her, I was at a Business Forward event in New York, overseeing the Statue of Liberty in New York Harbor from the Spotify office. I was the only analyst there, and she was brand new to Microsoft at the time. And watching her come and I mean, the way she's like taken the reins and run has been like inspiring, man. I mean, she kicks butt there, and she does a really, really good job of understanding and aligning with the market, getting a good sense of what Microsoft has to do to evolve along with that market. And at the same time, honestly, she's a blast to go out and have a drink with. She really is. She's just a lot of fun. So she's got that combination of the smarts, the drive, the personality to get stuff done at Microsoft. And as a result of that, Microsoft Dynamics and business apps is getting stuff done and becoming a heavy hitter.
And just to add that, like you said, uh, I met her once. Great sense of humor and great personality. In addition to all this stuff, that was one of the prerequisites for doing this. Yeah, we want a senior executive. We want somebody who has some authority within the company, but we don't want any stiffs either. I mean, because quite honestly, having a stiff, I don't care if it's a smart stiff or not, doesn't make for good watching or listening. So all the folks that we have on the panel, they fit the description. They're senior level folks. They're doing great things within the company, smart as a whip, but they also are people that you'd actually want to hang out with and talk to. So that's important for at least for us. All right.
That's right. Collegial.
Yeah. What he said, collegial. All right. So I guess we're up to the last panelist. And the last panelist is
Suresh. So Suresh is amazing. Okay. And again, look, every executive on this panel is actually an amazing human being, and not amazing just because I'm saying, we're supposed to say nice things because we're hosts, right? They're actually accomplished. Every one of these people has an enormous body of accomplishment behind them. Suresh actually comes from a very different place. He started as a Forrester analyst, actually. And then he went to Neolane, which was acquired, eventually by Adobe, and gave Adobe the backbone for what was then the digital marketing cloud. Now is, of course, the Experience Cloud. But I mean, if it weren't for Suresh and what he did at Neolane, Adobe wouldn't be where they are today. Now Suresh's job is to run all product for Experience Cloud, and of course, is easily the best qualified guy to do it. As far as I'm concerned, the guy and by the way, again, great sense of humor, astute and well aligned with the market, knows his stuff, right? And the good thing with Suresh too, from where he kind of differs a little bit from everybody else, is he does have, because of his history, he has something of an analyst perspective, right? And that actually helps, thing. I mean, ultimately, the interesting thing about the five of these people is they all know each other, right? And so and some of them are actually very close friends on the panel. So, that's why we want the atmosphere. This is not a panel where we do competition bashing. And believe me, if I have experience with that happening to me once, and I literally stopped it cold. I stopped it cold in public, and I have no problem ever doing that. But Brent and I would never make that mistake that I made again, right? Because these 5 are good people who will do this the way it should be done, which is to have a discussion that will benefit the industry as a whole, and that's the idea.
That's the idea. So that's the panel. Those are 5, and we are so excited to have these 5 represent those 5 companies, because we really do believe we have the right folks to kick off the inaugural executive roundtable conversation for the CRM Playaz. So that is the panel. We expect this to be 75 minutes long, so that's an hour and 15 minutes long. So starting at 1:30 p.m. East Coast time on the 8th, going to about 2:45. But we're not done. And we're going to quickly go over this, because right after the panel is done, we have our players in residence. We have Elle Nicole France and Ginger Conlon. And of course, we want to have their take. We want to have them involved in this. So what we thought would be really interesting and fun would be, after the hour and 15-minute panel is up, we'll take 15, 20 minutes with the players in residence, kind of get their take as correspondents. Kind of, how we do on the TV shows, on these political TV shows. They have the panel, and then they have a lot of discussion afterwards, conversation. And so, of course, we're going to have our players in residence involved. Got to do that. All right. Now, we're just really excited that we're able to announce this next thing, because we weren't sure this was going to happen, but I think we're good now. So
Yes, we are.
After we've got the take from the players in residence, we wanted to just bring in a whole bunch of the voices out there in the industry, people that and we know. We want to bring them into the loop as well. We want to get their take, get the kind of thoughts of the discussion, and maybe even thoughts on some of the things that they see and the trends that we're looking at currently and the state of affairs in the industry. So we can't go into each of them today, but this is a great group. They're not only smart and in the know and great thought leaders and analysts and all that, but they're also people that like to have fun while doing all this stuff. So what is that, 10? We got 10 of these folks here. The way it's going to work. And I'm sure you guys know, as a matter of fact, one of them has been commenting, Thomas. Yeah, I'm pointing at you, Thomas. So we're going to have, just like they do on these these cable news shows, after a big event, they have the commentary. So we're going to try to rifle through, maybe do it in 3 panels or so. Each of these folks will come on. They're going to watch the actual panel, and then they're going to come on and give their take, give their thoughts on what was discussed, and maybe, put forward a couple of things on their own. But it's all going to be subject around where we are today in the industry, where do things look like they're going. So we want them to come on and be able to provide kind of their take and have a discussion amongst the folks that we enjoy talking with, and we kind of miss them too, because these are the people we would traditionally see at all the conferences that we go to.
That's right. So next week. We can do that tomorrow on ETI. We'll give you the names of these people, but in the interest of times, not today.
Right. But some of them you already know, like Thomas. Right. Yeah. Give us a better picture, Thomas. Although I thought that picture was all right. I mean, you're smiling, looks pretty good to me. Yeah, he's happy. And we're happy. So once again, this will take place October the 8th, 1:30 p.m. East Coast time. The first 75 minutes, you're going to hear directly from the 5 panelists representing the 5 leading companies by way of market share in the industry. And then after that, you're going to hear more leading voices. Here's more conversations about what's taking place, what was discussed, and, just really taking 2.5 hours of really digging into things. But we'll bring it all to you. You can watch it here on LinkedIn Live. It'll be on YouTube. Wherever you want to watch it, you can watch it. We just hope you watch it, and we hope you watch the whole thing, and also do what the folks are doing here. We want to hear your comments, want to see your comments, and get your take as well. So, because unfortunately we can't bring everybody on with us, but we do want to hear from you. So, any last thoughts before we bring on our guests?
Nope, I think you covered it perfectly.
All right. All right. I guess you can see we're kind of excited about this. We're also excited to bring on our guest, Alex
Man.
Atzberger. There he is, looking nice,
Wow.
and refreshed, and cool, and calm, and all
Wait.
that.
Hey, Alex, wait, what's that? Work hard, stay humble. Oh, you're
Life is
muted.
good. Oh, yeah. Why is he muted? Let me turn. I unmuted you. I think I unmuted you. No, it won't let me unmute you.
No, he has to unmute himself.
Yeah.
There you go.
I was on mute.
Work hard, stay humble. Life is good.
That's it, Paul. Life is good. We have to stay humble though. So good to hear you both. What a panel! What a lineup you have there. That is a power. I mean, that's impressive stuff.
Alex, I still have when you were at SAP, I still have the Be Bold T-shirt that you gave me, which dovetails with what you do actually, which is because, I mean, look, I love you and you know that, and I was so impressed, and I think so was Brent, about when you not only became CEO of Episerver, but then you went ahead and really started on the most, I'll call it for them, especially given that I've known them for years, the most active, action-filled, and smart path I've ever seen them on. And they've always been good. It's not like you're dealing with a company that needed to be, you were picking the pieces up from the bottom and putting together. They were always a very, very solid company with a good reputation, but you're taking them on a whole other level. And this Optimizely acquisition was just amazing.
Yeah, we're excited for it. We're excited for it. But I also want to throw down the gauntlet a little bit, because I know the Battle of the Bands is coming and Episerver is participating. Okay.
I know.
And we have some secret weapons on that band that I don't want to spill too much the beans on.
No, it's already public. Believe me. Like we did a happy hour where every band member was revealed, including your lead vocalist.
Okay, then you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also Edward R. Barrow.
Yes.
If I remember correctly, he used to own a music label.
Yeah. He actually organized it. One of the things that's interesting about this is talent. Talented people. And the Battle of the Band just shows you how you assemble talent together. And a company is nothing else than finding talented people to create great music together. And so Ed is now running. He was the CEO from IDEO that right. Episerver acquired in December. Is just a super, super smart guy. He knows every company out there. And one of the discussions we had internally was like, what's kind of like the next thing where we want to take digital experience? And one of the things we talked about is how can you use data as a company to automate more of these amazing experiences. And if you saw Nike's earnings 2 days ago, it's unbelievable how companies that truly embrace digital can truly transform their results. I mean, it's incredible. So anyways, we Ed and the team from IDEO making a huge difference here. And I look forward for all the Optinauts, as they are called, from Optimized to do the same,
Well, tell me something, because one of the things that I'm fascinated by is there's a big focus, and you used it when we were first talking about this, by Optimizely on experimentation. And that's the word they use, right? Well, now you use, right, too. And, but, and if you remember, one of my questions was, how's that different from A/B targeting, or how is it different? And your explanation was kind of eye-opening. So why don't you kind of give everybody kind of an idea?
Yeah. So as I spend more time, obviously, with both customers and with Optimized, what's very clear is that there's a world that was, the past decade, where people basically tested green button versus red button. What works better? Can you still see me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So it was all about the green button versus the red button in terms of A/B testing. And today we are really in a world where the experiences are not just the green or red button, but it's really about, what's the business logic that actually drives the experience. And so what you really want to be able to test as a company, and what you really want to experiment on, is things like, your search algorithm, your pricing on your website, and actually the customer journey. In many ways, when you think about the customer journey orchestration, you actually want to think about how can I actually orchestrate the steps in the journey differently to increase conversion and actually drive more outcomes. And so what Optimizely does, which I thought was fantastic in terms of their product strategy, was besides the web-based A/B testing that runs on the client side, they also invested in the server-side experimentation capabilities to actually give developers, who are increasingly obviously part of actually driving digital experiences, the tools to actually measure the rollout of new capabilities on their site. And so customers, let's say for instance a DocuSign is one of the customers for Optimizely. For DocuSign, the website, the .com, is actually their product. They don't think about the .com just as a brochureware or something. It's literally who they are as a company. So to give that capability, Salesforce, by the way, is also a customer. And so to give actually the development team and the digital team, both on the marketing side, but also on the development side, these capabilities is super powerful. And one tip is, this book by a professor at Harvard called Stefan Tomke, his book is Experimentation Works, tells the stories of, so many companies, but it asks a very simple question, which is, besides what content you show on a website, how do you answer the question how you should show this content, and how do you actually compete? And this is why I think, experimentation is so core to the competition and the ability for companies to compete.
What about what's taken place in the pandemic where before you could almost mark the thing as before COVID and after COVID, but before COVID, people were doing their online shopping. A significant amount of people were doing some pretty decent amount of online shopping. Then the pandemic hit, and then everybody switched to online shopping. What role did that potentially have in you doing this acquisition? Was this something that was already, on the way, or did this accelerate the process because of all the upshot in people buying online?
Yeah, Brent, if you could have checked my pulse over the last couple of months, you would have seen a drop in March to kind of like, a lot, and then it picked up very quickly again. I think what's happening is that a lot of companies recognize digital is no longer a decision. You just have to be digital. But what's happening is that companies do stuff in a shorter period of time because they really have to. I mean, we had customers who went live on a commerce system literally in weeks' time, rather than what typically would be a month's time frame. And why? Because it's the only way you can actually connect to your customer. So our impact on our business, we acquired a company called Insight Commerce, which is a B2B player out of Minneapolis, very focused on manufacturing companies that are typically not very digital. Maybe 1% of their sales is online, maybe even less. Some of those companies, that part of our business grew triple digits in Q2. And again, even this quarter, we see great demand there. Why? Because again, it's for companies, really the area where they invest in. And if you look at the results from some of the companies you have on your panel, all of them are reporting big numbers on the commerce side. And if you look at Shopify, it's the same story. But the only part that I would ask companies as they go into commerce is, how do you actually, when you're then online, then how do you continue there to differentiate? Because you actually, oftentimes the companies don't have any of the digital skill sets to really differentiate their brand, to think about how do I even do SEO, how do I actually go forward with people in the journey. So it's more than just putting up a website or a commerce engine. You need to really get deep into understanding how you actually convert customers. So Brent, to answer your question very simply, we just saw a lot of demand. And we said, our focus is completely at Episerver to help companies compete and win with digital experience. That's our only focus. So we don't touch CRM in terms of the core of the CRM. We don't touch service, etc. What we really are focused on is, the digital experience. Once a customer comes on your website, you should be able to know this customer. You should be able to engage them, and then you should ultimately be able to move them forward in the relationship with your brand.
When I first heard of Episerver many years ago, I remember I I thought it was really interesting, but I couldn't quite figure out why what the company was doing content and commerce. Like over here, content, over here, commerce in my head anyway. There were two separate things. I wasn't exactly sure why. It was, there are other companies doing stuff that was made me wonder, like Nice, which still makes me wonder what they're doing. But in your case, as digital experience and customer experience and engagement evolved, it began making more and more sense. And then not too long ago, I kind of had a, I don't know, personal epiphany in terms of how I'm viewing commerce, which was the best way to see commerce was that you shouldn't be looking at transactions and interactions as separate, right? Meaning this the purchase and everything else you're doing to interact. That actually transactions are a subset of interactions. And at that point, Episerver makes complete sense, right? Because it's all part of how you engage, the data you have, the insights you gain, and the activities that you promote to the individuals as you gain the insights. And the Optimizely acquisition, even though you, as I know you noted in other conversations, has gotten huge. Well, every analyst who's heard it that I know of really liked it. Like this is one of these. I didn't see. Maybe there was some criticism. I didn't see any, and I looked. I literally saw none. I mean, it was that good an acquisition. So, but here's an interesting question that raises to me now. If I'm looking at your history as a company, you've been a mid-market focused company as long as I've known the company. The interesting facet of if I'm viewing it again, just for my own personal benefit, although of course I will go out in the market and push everywhere that transactions are a subset of interactions. So I'm going to make everybody agree with me, and I'll bang my shoe on the table, right? So, but in that context, what becomes very interesting is scaling to the enterprise, right? Because look, the big enterprise e-commerce systems were acquired, right? I always thought Microsoft should have acquired you, even though they didn't, right? I was always my thing. Although, in retrospect, if they had acquired Episerver before you were CEO, you wouldn't be CEO. So I'm glad they didn't. So I'm actually glad they didn't, right? So, so the question of scale is becoming more and more interesting to me for you. You're part of the Microsoft ecosystem, regardless, which is another question, which is the question of, let's say, decoupling or being part of other ecosystems, maybe not necessarily going away from Microsoft, but let's say spreading the wealth or, hedging your bets, right? However you want to look at it. What's the plan there? Because the pieces with Optimizely in place, you have an enormous opportunity there. And right now, at least, unique. So where are you going?
Yeah. There's the nice part, Paul, is that there's a lot of options. I mean, right now we obviously are very, very focused on, first of all, doing our job, which is bringing value to customers through the combination of the two companies. But I think your question on enterprise is very good because, Epi has enterprise customers at enterprise scale. Sometimes it's in subsidiaries, sometimes it's in certain regions, but we have we have over 5,000 customers who leverage Epi. One of the things that attracted me a lot to Epi was that customers who know Epi love Epi. We have 40,000 developers on the Epi platform. So there's a really nice core to the story. But the story with Optimizely, what amazed me were the logos, the companies that use Optimizely. I mean, it's fascinating. I mean, you take a Peloton, Microsoft is a customer, Salesforce. I mean, you rattle off the brands, and it's incredible in terms of what brands leverage Optimizely. But I think the one big part, and I know this may be an overused word in our industry, but this ability to democratize capabilities to more companies, because the power of experimentation, it shouldn't be seen as like a separate process. We want to tie it very closely to how companies actually build content and merchandise products in commerce. And so we want to ensure that in every process step that a content editor, for instance, goes through, they actually can start leveraging experimentation, and we want to package it into one platform. So obviously that it becomes affordable for companies to leverage this, also in the mid-market. And then on the enterprise side, I have tons of respect for the enterprise players that are there, but some of them have a very big portfolio that costs money to maintain, and they charge a lot of money for their solutions. And I think, Epi comes in with a good ROI for companies, so we see opportunity there. And then in terms of the partnerships, one of the things I learned in my time at SAP, which was very difficult, is when you're with one of the big players, you basically are an ecosystem yourself. But what made Salesforce so successful is the ecosystem, and the ability in the app marketplace. And what I want to be part of is some of these ecosystems, because we are the size of a company where we are not threatening any of the other big players that you have in your panel, but we are partnering with all of those players if they are interested, to actually bring more of the power of experimentation and recommendations on top of their existing platforms. And for me, there's no conflict there in order to actually make that happen in the interest of customers.
We had a question, and I thought I'd post this up and see if you wanted to handle this one, Alex. Is a digital experience separate of CRM? That's coming from Thomas.
Yeah, it is. Thomas, it's a good question, and obviously this is a dangerous question to answer if you were on the phone call with Paul and Brent. So I give you my perspective. At SAP, I was fortunate enough to manage a portfolio that included CRM and commerce and custom identity management solutions, and we positioned it as a suite, which you can do in terms of one big suite. But one of the things I noticed in every company I work in, pretty much every company uses Salesforce at this point for actually managing the core customer data. What changes when you actually are in a digital experience is actually creating the actual experience. So it's really the content editing tools to actually create the experience, the actual commerce tools. And for me, CMS, commerce, and the personalization tools that relate to that touch point, that system of differentiation, is different to the CRM. For me, the CRM, the main user remains the salesperson, and also interacts obviously with the commerce solution, but it is not the system of actual engagement and differentiation. That it is a core system of record, but it's not the actual touch point. And so what we at Epi think about is we literally think about our customers touch point. So if you go to a website like Yamaha and you look at their website that's run on Epi, we think about that experience that people have. And as a CRM, the CRM sits behind it and obviously feeds the customer data back and forth.
One of the things. Oh, you want to?
No, go ahead.
I just like asking this question to folks in the industry, the vendors, because it seems to me like digital transformation was a thing before COVID, but post-COVID or in the middle of it, how are your customers? How is their definition of digital transformation changed? Not just, we talk about it's accelerated. I think that's pretty much given. But how's it changed? I mean, how are they viewing it in terms of, customer engagement? What are they needing to do differently than they had to do before? Because COVID has changed the game in so many different ways.
Yeah, Brent, I think you're spot on. Obviously, there's the acceleration aspect, but there's also digital transformation is really a very, very broad term. I mean, you can look at supply chain, you can look at customer. I think everything customer has just become a lot more relevant and a lot more urgent because it's your revenue. I mean, if you don't have revenue as a company, and if you can't, and it's literally every size of company where, it's your supermarket all the way to, it's any sort of company that actually needs to connect with a customer today. So I think it has created a lot of urgency there. I see a lot of times the conversation being really connected also to future proofing and risk mitigation. Obviously, supply chain topics become very, very important for companies. But I absolutely see that when you talk digital transformation now with CEOs and also, again, mid-market companies that I, for instance, had a lot of conversations with, people just want to go back to business and want to be able to serve customers. And so they want to know, how can I actually do this way? And then a lot of people, I think, have a wrong estimation of timelines here. It's not like we just suddenly jump back to the way the business was before. And even if the business goes back magically, COVID disappears and we're magically back to what it was before, it's not going to be the same, and you have to be okay with a different business mix. And maybe you are able to actually grow your digital business to a point where it's actually beneficial again for your total results. But that's why I thought, again, Nike's comments 2 days ago were so clear, where John Donahoe said, like, look, the customer is changing their patterns. Even if they go into the store, by the way, they're actually going into the store to sometimes just validate what they want to purchase online. They just literally go to the store, check it out, and say, like, yeah, that's what I actually want to buy. Then they go back and purchase online. So the concept is completely changing. So again, I think that digital transformation conversation, Brent, is about the customer.
So, okay, so before I ask the question, I have a random piece of advice to give you.
Yes.
Given your corporate nickname at your next conference, do not, when you're giving away swag, don't give away pens.
Yes. No, we're not doing that. I tell you, Paul, one of the things I came in with was like this, notion about how do we, what should be the brand for Epi going forward as we're buying companies, etc. That's a totally different conversation, but I agree with you with the pens. Okay.
That would be pretty much a disaster, giving away EpiPens, right? I just don't think that would be a good idea. Now, I have a totally different question for you. One of the things that you like, I am completely jealous of you, is your other business.
Oh, yes.
The one in New York. Because
yes.
I am completely, let's say, addicted to what you are doing there.
Yes.
Yes. You need to tell people about it. And I want to hear what, given the pandemic, what's gone on. And my wife and I were coming to New York to go to 2 Broadway plays. And one of the things I had literally marked down to do was to come to what you're doing there and taste what you had.
Paul, you would have gotten a very special welcome. One of the markets I think need to be revolutionized is the market for hot chocolate. Because when people think about hot chocolate, they think about Swiss Miss or something else where basically you have powder and you add water or milk. What we have done is actually we take chocolate bars and we melt them. And this is actually based on a chef who ran City Bakery in New York City. For anybody.
Oh my! Really?
Yes. Mario
City
Ruben.
Baker. Huh?
City Baker.
That is so. That's the one. For those who do not know this, in New York and outside New York, that is literally one of the most legendary bakeries anywhere, ever.
Anywhere. It has an incredible history, but it went out of business, Paul. And I contacted the chef and said, I came to your bakery every week to drink your hot chocolate. Why is your hot chocolate so special? And he says, because I melt chocolate, rather than mixing it with powder. And I said, and he had something in February called the Chocolate Month. Every day a different flavor. Unbelievable. Wow. Just unbelievable. Like peeled banana, like one with caramel. Just unbelievable flavors. Oh. Anyways, so we went into business together. We created Wonder Bon hot chocolate. And we opened up a pop-up. We served about 5,000 customers in a 3 months time period. People loved it. Then obviously the pop-up actually closed just before COVID. And we are working right now on bringing it back this October. So this October,
really?
New York City. Yeah, but we're gonna probably do one of the cloud kitchen concepts. So it's delivery only. And then we are also working on a consumer product that's going to be able to be shipped around.
Oh man! Well, so how do you compete with like Jacques Torres, who has a big brand, and Mexican? His Aztec hot chocolate is pretty exceptional for a semi-commercial hot chocolate.
Yeah, I think the market is pretty big, Paul. But I also think that focus matters. So One of the things we are doing is we are doing a plant-based hot chocolates, which are actually very interesting with oat milk and coconut milk. And then the other piece
Wow.
is we're doing spiced hot chocolates. So we're working with the distillery together to do a gin version with a white hot chocolate. If you taste that, Paul, I tell you, this goes very well. Yeah,
you are just killing me right now. I have to tell you, it's killing me. One of my favorite things in the world when I was little too was having in the winter having hot chocolate. It was like the greatest experience ever.
It's perfect. It's perfect.
And every time I'd read a tweet about your hot chocolate, like somebody who had it, it was like, it all started with OMG. Every last week started with OMG, right? And I was like lusting after your hot chocolate, man. I tell you. I mean, I think, Episerver is just the path to hot chocolate franchises, right? Hot chocolate franchises everywhere. That would be something I would do. I mean, oh my God. I can't wait to actually someday really taste it too.
Yeah, but I have to get in there and ask. So, can you make something like crow nuts out of your stuff, or maybe a nice brookie? Do you know what a brookie is? Because I think you might want to get into the brookie business.
Yeah. You know what's great about crow nuts and brookies and all of it? It just tells you that innovation is just fantastic. It's everywhere in terms of coming up with new things. But you know what the craziest part is? Right now is getting capacity to make products and ship them, because everybody is going in there. So we are trying to get manufacturing capacity for hot chocolate to create a consumer product. It's super hard to find aluminum cans. I mean, these are the type of things you start learning when you actually run that sort of business. And for me, it's a great experience, because one of the things that I love about retail is you see your customer walk into a store, and you can see them and you can see a reaction. When you do digital, you don't see the customer anymore. I don't know who is walking into my store, And so,
especially like the stores like you would have, those are experiences. They're not just drinking chocolate.
Absolutely. But it's this moment when somebody tastes the hot chocolate that tastes anything else than they've ever tasted before, and you see their smile on the face, you're like, wow, But I think in digital, you lose that connection. You don't know what people feel when they actually use something. And, now we're making the turn all the way back to experimentation. That's the beauty. You can actually serve up different types of hot chocolate and see what people react, and then improve your experience. I think there was a stretch, but
that was all right. It worked pretty well. I thought that was a pretty decent segue, actually. I mean, one other thing. Have you ever, since you live in New York, I know you're a Yankees fan too, which is another.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. But have you ever had bagels at Best Bagel on 35th? It's on 35th between 7th and 8th.
I did not have bagels on.
They are. Bagels. Take it from a New York Jew. They are the best bagels in the world.
I hear it there. Paul, I live across from Russian Daughters. I don't know if you know Russian Daughters. They do the salmon. They were the first.
Oh, yeah.
They're right next to Katz Delicatessen on Houston. And that's right where I live, right in that neighborhood. So that's where I get my bagels together with my cream cheese and salmon. But I will check out 35th as well.
Also, talk to Katz for your chocolate. Talk to Katz about their shipping. When we did Super Bowl parties, we would literally have it shipped from Katz. All our stuff.
Wow.
It was amazing. And the food is great for parties.
Support them now. That business is, I don't know how many years now old, probably 100-something years old.
Yeah.
And support local businesses today.
They're also, to the pandemic side, they actually did make a point of, right now they've geared themselves to shipping, and they're doing a ton of shipping. And so luckily they already knew how to do it. So their business is actually sustained. I don't know if it's improved a lot, but it's sustained itself in the course of this, because they've had such a strong back and forth on the shipping side.
Absolutely. Good.
Well, I guess we better wrap it up, because it's a little after the hour of 4 here on the East Coast.
Worth every second. Now I want hot chocolate though.
Yeah, and if you could point out the best blueberry bagel in New York City, let me know about that.
Yeah, that's Brent goading us. Believe me.
Better me to goad you than Nicef to goad you.
There's no
All right,
such
it's
thing
time
as
to
a
it's
blueberry
yes.
general.
Kind of. So, hey, Alex, it's been a pleasure having you, man. Thanks for joining us.
That was
It was
awesome.
awesome.
Appreciate it.
It
Thanks,
was.
Paul. Thanks, Brent. Pleasure.
Oh,
Yeah. Be well.
totally
Stay
our
well.
pleasure, man.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And we will be back tomorrow. Who's our guest tomorrow?
Nobody. Wait, who do we have tomorrow?
I thought we had a guest
Oh,
tomorrow.
we do. Of course we do. What am I thinking? God almighty. I'm sorry. I was, I'm not joking. I literally have been thinking about hot chocolate.
I could see. It's gonna have to get you some sent to you or something. If they can only find the cans.
I love hot chocolate. You announce the guest. I'm about to faint for the desire for hot chocolate.
Oh, all I can think of is Pug.
No, that's right. And it's Steve Boxtra, right? Steve Boxtra. But I don't want to tell people too much about Steve and Pug. Pug is fascinating for what they do in the sports world and with one other, but how they go about it. And it's not all they do. It's not just sports, but how they go about this is a combination of things that I find unique and kind of brilliant in execution. So Steve Boxtra, who's the CEO of Pug Interactive, and will be on tomorrow to enlighten us. It's a good one.
I thought it had something to do with dogs.
Well, no, it wouldn't. I'm a cat person.
All right, and I'm just trying to see if we can get this one last shout out here for the October 8th deal. There it is. Let me give the big screenshot action here. So once again, we'll be doing a special show October 8th, 1:30 p.m. The first, and I guess I was going to say the first inaugural, but that's kind of like the same thing. The first CRM Playaz.
That's like saying it's very unique.
Yeah. Right. It is very unique. This one is. It's the CRM Playaz Executive Roundtable Conversation, Thursday, October 8th, 1:30 p.m. And we're going to run this thing all the way to our traditional 3 o'clock hour, all the way to 4 o'clock. We want you to be there. The big five in terms of market share will be there. And a lot of our buddies will be there, including Thomas, adding some discussion after, or what do we call that? The post-game show? Something like that?
Right. Good enough. Works.
The post-game show. So in the meantime, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM Playaz, and we will see you tomorrow, if not before that, but don't count on that happening. See ya.
Yeah, in fact, bye.